Alright. And we're off.
Everything that lives is
Okay,
designed to
so the first thing I'm just going to point out
We are
real quick
perpetually
is the
trapped
timers beneath the runner's video
never-ending
streams.
spiral of
Those
life
timers are
and
in
death.
loadless, and loadless is the timing method we use for
Is
this
this a
game
curse?
because
Or
loads
some
change
kind
a
of
lot
punishment?
depending on what your system is like.
I often
So if
think
you
about
have,
the God
fast
who blessed us
RAM,
with this cryptic puzzle,
a
and
really
wonder
strong
if we'll
system,
ever
you're going to
have
have
the
really
chance
quick
to kill
loads.
him.
So if we use RTA for timing, it's going to disadvantage those with slow systems. So that's the first thing. You'll see these timers desyncing throughout the race. Don't be alarmed by that, it's just natural, that's how loadless is going to work. But really it just provides a fair race for everyone. So that's the first thing I was going to say. Now, I'm sure most of you know NieR Automata. It's a pretty popular game. I'm actually surprised by how well it sold, considering it was more of a cult classic, the original game. But this came out February of last year. It's a pretty dang good game. I've sunk more than 1,000 hours into it. But yeah, the speedrun is also phenomenal if you haven't seen it. And I suppose you're about to see it right now. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely stick around. You might be surprised by just how fancy it is. We've put a lot of time and effort into improving this and beating the game as quickly as possible, and it's really wonderful. But for those of you who haven't seen this game before, this first bit is not representative at all of what the rest of the run is going to be like. So we've got this shoot 'em up style thing. You got to fly around in what we call a flight unit here. Do some dodging, do some shooting. We're just trying to take out the waves as quickly as possible when they do come. And then we've got some waiting for dialogue, got some scripted events like these lasers here.
1D down. Assuming captain's duties.
You see Sheng's already a few seconds ahead. Panpipes might be having a little trouble just like staying upright in his chair. No, I'm not sure how wasted he is right now, but he sounded like he was having a lot of fun in voice chat before the race, so I'm sure this will be interesting. Perhaps he'll pull ahead when he sobers up, I don't know. Neck him up. Alright, so this first section was in stealth mode in the flight unit. And now we see that it's kind of a top-down, like Gundam thing with the flight unit. You can swing a sword around, that's mostly what we use in these sections.
I think 4B down.
And this game does that really well. It always transitions really solidly between, different points of view, different control schemes. All the moves translate from one control scheme to another, so it's more like a seamless experience than this janky scenario they're trying to create. And really, the first time you play through this game, it really is a wonderful thing. Alright. Pipes going for the triangles here. He may have gotten that last one. Basically, the triangles are just a blessing from God. If you can go through all 3 triangles in that little travel bit there, then you're blessed. The run is destined to PB. But it is tough. Tight little holes. No chance against the Austrian Wonder Kid. Well, my friend, Panpipes is the Australian Wonder Kid, so Sheng might have a tough time, I don't know. Although Sheng is in the lead now by 3 or 4 seconds. Boom, okay, so the shmup is over. We'll have 1 or 2 more shmups before the end of the run. One significant one, in fact. But for now, let's get into explaining what's happening here. So a lot of things are going to be happening in a short period of time. This is prologue. It lasts about 15 minutes, and it's probably the most condensed section of tech in the run. There's a lot to explain. So right now, you see 2B doing this move where she kind of does a cartwheel and then throws out a sword. This is a normal move, but when it's performed during a dash, it amplifies the damage by 5, and this isn't intended. This is what we call damage glitch. It only works on this move, and yeah, it's a dash plus a heavy attack. And the runners are going to be using that move throughout the combat in the whole run. So you'll be seeing a lot. It also gives you iframes during the cartwheel bit, and if our runners are skilled enough, you'll see them using that to avoid attacks instead of perfect evading, which can then lead into a counterattack, losing you time, or just tanking a hit. So optimal combat in this game is really tough, but there's a lot of fancy stuff you can do with it. Alright, so wschseng is definitely about 5 seconds ahead now. And here's some more fancy stuff you might not have been expecting if you haven't seen this run. 2B's aerial movement is just insane. Ooh, Pipe's almost fudging it there. So this crane is intended to be a backtrack through this section once you've completed a certain portion of the prologue, but we can just do it from the very beginning by gaining a lot of height. Using specific attacks in midair, you can gain a lot of height and distance. You can stay in the air for a long time.
Nothing's ever easy.
And again, Pipe's making good use of that damage glitch. There are a few different waves in this room. This one's the most tricky one. The ideal strat, holy moly, that was a really good line, but he actually whiffed the laser. So the ideal strat here is to line up a bunch of the flyers, preferably 4 or 5, and then hit them all in one laser, take them out in one shot. But yeah, he whiffed that. And we just saw wschseng doing probably the most difficult skip when you're first learning this game, the bridge skip. Infamous bridge skip. This bridge also is supposed to be lowered as a backtrack, and he gets it first try, holy moly. So that's supposed to be a backtrack, but again, using a really tight high jump, you can get on top of that and cross the bridge, skipping about 40 seconds of prologue. We're out of bounds here, by the way, on Pipes' screen. This is all out of bounds. And of course the marvelous thing about this game, or the thing that I found marvelous about it, is that the out of bounds aren't simple, you know, walk here, do this, now you're out of bounds, now you win the game. The out of bounds are actually really tricky to clip out on, a lot of them. And once you're out of bounds, knowing where you can and can't walk is really the tough bit. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of trial and error, because there's invisible floors, there's fake floors, there are fake walls, you can soft lock. You know, it's really scary, some of these. Now this is the third and final silo that Pipes is in. wschseng is just pulling ahead, but I'm going to stick to commentating Pipes for now. wschseng is, well, I said I was going to commentate Pipes, but wschseng is doing something really fancy here. We call it angle swag. Let's see if Pipes goes for it as well.
I surveyed the entire factory, but couldn't find anything resembling our target.
Pipes is a loser. So
Moved it somewhere?
this big thing that Pipes is just leaving now is angles. It's actually the boss of prologue, but he's hidden in disguise. So you have to go on top of him and cross that. That's the intended path. But actually, wschseng did a really high jump, and then he did what we call a plunge, which is basically a dive forward with your sword. And he did that on a particular part of Angle's collision, which is coded as a wall, which means the plunge doesn't stop, because the plunge usually stops when you hit the ground. But it's coded as a wall, but it's actually horizontal in its nature. So the plunge won't stop, but the floor, quote, wall will actually push you forwards, and you can just go straight through angles. It actually only saves about a second compared to going around, surprisingly. But it is very swaggy indeed, so wschseng's a great guy in my books for doing that in a race. It's really tough too. But anyway, So Sheng has taken out, and ooh, Pipes had a little mishap there, but Pipes has also taken out the first, well, I suppose the second boss of Prologue. But these are just mini bosses. These little claw hand things are just parts of this big guy, Engels. Engels is the true boss of Prologue. And indeed, Engels can be very, very mean. This first phase is always going to be the same length, but depending on what attack he chooses in the second phase, you can potentially lose 23 seconds. So it's really just an RNG fest. This is where most runs go to die. Honestly, you probably only get punches, the slowest move, about 20% of the time. But it really is horrible, especially when you're on world record Prologue pace. Like happened to someone yesterday. But anyway, this is basically just where we pray. Please be good Engels, please. So what does Sheng get? Alright, Sheng got a great attack. So he got a ranged attack. All the ranged attacks are pretty much even for fastest attacks. And we'll see what Pipes gets. Bless RNG.
This is the top. I'm going
Pipes
to destroy.
also got a great attack. Perfect.
I'll provide support.
So we may see both of these runners getting a sub 15 prologue, which is a pretty good time, especially in a race.
Incoming enemy attack from below. Proposal. Evade.
Alright, so we're just waiting for Engels now. You can see Sheng has gone out of bounds and is sitting on left pipe, which is the best pipe. You can choose from left pipe, right pipe, or no pipes. And right pipe is horrible. You're a horrible person if you use right pipe. But left pipe is good, and Sheng's using left pipe, so I'm proud of him. Pipes is just choosing to, ironically, not use a pipe. Which is a pretty sore loser move, if you ask me. Alright, Sheng is done with Engels. Well, done with the horrible part of Engels. So I was just going to do some fancy movement, what we call a double lift there.
Hacking in.
So we have this launcher move that takes us off the ground at the start of the most combos. And it moves you forward slightly, so you can actually use a lift and move forward into a ramp. And technically during the lift, you touch the ground, so it resets your jumps. So you can technically do a lift, then a jump. And normally you can only do 2, whereas now you can do 3, so it's a huge height advantage, and we use it a few times throughout the run. No relation to the League player. Although if he did speedrun this game, I'm sure he'd be an absolute god. Pipes got screwed over a little bit by the ninjas there. We call them ninjas because if you choose to laser a bunch of them, they can very easily iframe by flipping over and dodging through your laser somehow. They're magical little guys. Now this is the final phase of Engels. Again, it is a bit of an RNG fest, but not quite as blunt as the first one. So here there's some dialogue playing, you can hear it on Pipes' end. Now when this dialogue finishes and Engels chooses another attack, that attack is going to be the scripted punch that continues the fight. Until he does that scripted punch, you're stuck here in this mode. And he can only do that punch once the dialogue is finished. So the optimal situation would be for the dialogue to finish, and then immediately after he chooses a new attack. And that attack is going to be the scripted punch. Sometimes he can choose a really long attack right before the dialogue ends, and that is horrible. There's a horrible feeling. Pipes got pretty mediocre RNG here. You can see he has to wait for Engels to finish missiles. Alright, so Pipes unfortunately isn't going to have a sub 15 prologue, but Sheng, it looks like, is just. And at this point I'm just going to swap over the audio to Sheng.
Affirmative. Infiltrating enemy subunit.
Our boy Sheng finished prologue. Poggers.
Nothing.
Alright, so Sheng is done with prologue. He is now in the bunker, which is where we continue our journey. Gotta do some little bits of menuing, just little bits of movement and dialogue and a trick here or there, and then we get into the real nitty-gritty of the run.
12.
So something I didn't talk about during prologue because I had so much to talk about with Engels there being a big butt. So in combat, something else that the runners exploit the casual players probably wouldn't have is taunting. Now if you play this casually, you'll know that you can taunt as A2 by holding a certain button, and that is told to you by the game. It's an intended mechanic.
Morning.
But what we've discovered is that you can actually taunt by spamming flashlight in the enemy's faces as well. So if you spam it, say 6 to 8 times, the enemies will erupt steam, they'll get red, and they take and deal, is it 1.5 times the damage or double? Doesn't really matter. It speeds up the combat a lot, but it also makes it a lot more risky for us. So I think it's a really cool thing that we can take advantage of. Makes sense? Yeah, exactly, dude. The devs were just being thoughtful for the robots. Robots have feelings too. So yeah, you'll see basically during every fight we're going to be spamming flashlight, taunting the enemies up. We're also going to be using buffs, so you can get a buff that multiplies your damage by 1.5 for about 30 seconds, and one that reduces the damage you take by half. The defense one is optional, but we always get the attack one because it just saves so much time in combat. So that, taunting, on top of damage glitch, which multiplies the damage by 5, and you have really quick combat compared to the casual play. And with these tools, we can achieve some great things. Sometimes we can skip phases on bosses, such as on Adam in the desert. We're going to be seeing that hopefully the runners get lucky there. It is a bit dependent on what Adam chooses to do, but yeah. We'll explain it when we get there. Sheng and now Panpipes 2 are into this shmup section. The second shmup of 4 in the run. This one's probably the best one in my opinion. It's just a short and sweet little thing. Goes for about a minute. And something we unlocked as well after prologue is a pod program inside the flight unit. So you remember earlier I was talking about the laser and lining up the enemies to get the perfect laser. So that's a pod program. Casually you would have a few different kinds that you can equip, like a laser, shockwave, giant hammer. We just use the laser and we use it well. But inside the flight units now we can also use that, and it shoots out 2 salvos of missiles. When you're in a particular perspective in the flight units, you can abuse the hitbox of the missiles and the hitbox of the enemy, and you can kill stuff really quickly by standing in just the right position, and we'll be seeing that a bit later on to kill a particular boss basically instantly. But yes, now we're done with the second flight unit section. We've landed in City Ruins, and this is the HQ for our operations from now on. We're going to be going around to different parts of this area a few times throughout the run. You'll see at the very end of the run we also come back here. It's basically the center of the overworld. And Sheng here is doing a piece of movement called dash punching. Now normally dashing is the fastest movement, at least for this first bit of the game, but you can add in punches between each dash and they just give you a little thrust forward for not much time investment. So dash punching is technically about 5% faster.
Target location data obtained. Marking on map.
And again, as the run progresses, you're going to be seeing more and more advanced movement tech, both in the air and on the ground, and combat will get a bit more spicy as well.
This must have been quite a city once upon a time. Too bad vegetation's claimed most of it now.
Hey Slicknick. What's up, dude? Hey Zero.
Operator 60 to 2B. It is time for your regularly scheduled contact.
Yes, advanced tech with a K.
Nothing to report.
Good to hear. Say, how's the
You guys
weather
can let me
around
know if I've missed out on anything. I know whenever I commentate this run, there is always so much to explain right off the bat.
I just figured it might
So
be
much
about
going
good
on.
weather.
You know, as a runner, spending hundreds and hundreds of hours in this game, you just take things for granted, but there's so many little things runners are doing here and there that save so much time, and if you haven't watched a bunch of speedruns of this, you really wouldn't notice it.
Wonder if there are any huge boars and such.
And sometimes I just forget about them, you know? So, story-wise, we're just doing a couple of fetch quests here, two to be precise.
Okay, that's
Sheng is finished with both of them. Pipes is on his way to the first one, where you just have to pick up 4 items from the ground.
Those chores are a real pain in the butt, huh?
The Resistance is a valuable ally to your hub. By helping them, we also help ourselves. So no.
So there's the 4th item from Pipes,
Yeah.
and he's moving on to the second one. Now the second one, you need to get 3 drops from 3 particular enemies. Yes, it's your basic MMO, you know, kill X number of enemies, get X number of drops, come back to me when you're done. But yeah, it's required. We haven't found a way to skip it yet. It'd be great because there's quite a bit of RNG involved in how these enemies behave. But yeah, Pipes does a pretty good job of that. The hardest part is finding the drops in the grass. If I'm really honest with you, that is definitely the hardest part. Sometimes they can be hiding in the bushes. Also, sometimes the enemies can give you the wrong drop. So, like, 3 will drop and you'll be like, oh great, I don't need to kill any more enemies. And then you'll pick up the 3rd, and the objective marker on the map will still be there, and you're like, huh, why didn't I finish the quest? And it's because, you know, you rolled the 1 out of 10 chance that an enemy will drop the wrong item. And it's a lovely, lovely experience for all. So please, if you can find a way to remove that quest from the speedrun, please do. No one's going to hate you for it. So Pipes is now upgrading his sword to level 3, and Sheng has already done that, and he's on his way into the desert. So the person Pipes is speaking to right now is Anemone. She's like our ally from a different team. She's the leader of the resistance camp. Holy crap, Pipes just spaghettied so hard, and I am definitely going to bully him for that later. But anyway, so we upgrade our sword to level 3. This, of course, gives us more damage, and it also upgrades the attack speed when you upgrade this weapon. And for every level you get on this sword, the attack speed and damage both go up. Unfortunately, we only upgrade it to level 2 in the run. You can do level 3 with an experimental route people are running, but it's very tricky and very RNG dependent. So I think we'll see both runners just doing level 2. But with that attack speed, we now have a faster form of movement than dash punching, and it is dash swinging. You just dash, and then when the dash is over, you swing your sword and it propels you forward. A bit quicker than dash punching, not by much though. And Sheng is pulling ahead more and more. Pipes is incorporating more and more spaghetti. Okay, but because Pipes is now at the trader here and I've missed out on this bit, I'll just explain what he's buying. So he bought several recoveries. He bought those buffs we were talking about earlier at the start of every combat section. What the heck is Pipes doing? This man is insane. He just doesn't know what to do. Okay. Yep, he definitely hasn't sobered up yet. So he bought recoveries, he bought buffs, he bought a sachet, which is an item that lets you approach wild animals without them running away from you. And yes, there are wild animals in this game, and you can ride them. We will be doing so. And to ride them, you need an animal bait, which he also bought. And the most important part, probably, is that he picked up a chip called Resilience. Now, chips are this game's way of making the game into an RPG. So you can customize your loadout of plug-in chips, and each of them give you different effects. They've got different levels, different capacity costs, and this particular one that he just bought is called Resilience. And if you've played Dark Souls, you know about poise. It gives you super armor until you take a certain amount of poise damage. In this game, they have a similar thing from Resilience, where if you're above 80% of your max health, you don't stagger from enemy attacks. And it's as simple as that. No hidden mechanics, you just need to be above 80% health when you take the hit. And we abuse that a lot in the speedrun. So basically the whole time we're trying to spam recoveries to stay on full health, and just tanking enemy hits and damage glitching and trying to deal as much DPS as possible. And the Resilience really helps with that. Sheng having a bit of trouble here. Oof. He looks mad. Come on, Sheng, you can do it. Oh man. Okay. He got in. That didn't look like it, but that was actually out of bounds. And he is out of bounds. He is very out of bounds at the moment. He is off the rails. And I've kind of gotten caught up talking about Pipes, but really I should be talking about Sheng. His movement's pretty good, apart from the failed clip out 10 or 20 times. Okay. Ooh. Jesus, okay. It scares me so much when people do that without changing the camera angle. So Sheng just did a huge skip. Saves about 40 seconds, which is a lot in this game. He skipped the entire desert housing area by clipping out at the start of it, beelining to a particular trigger that we need in order to progress. And once he hit that trigger, he turned around and went straight for the platform, which is another trigger we need. And then he fell into the pit, and now the fight begins. There's no need to tail the robot through the desert housing area, because all you need are a few triggers and you can, go into this fight. We're going to see Pipes attempting the same thing here, for sure. This isn't a skip that you can just run the whole time, avoiding. You kind of need this skip. It's a fair bit of time save. It is tough to learn at first, like I said. Out of bounds in this game, really tough. You can void out, which means basically just fall into the void and lose a bunch of time. You can soft lock in some places, and get stuck for a while. So out of bounds, really tough. This one in particular causes people a lot of trouble, but it isn't something you can just avoid. Alright. While Pipes is doing the same skip, Sheng is coming up to the first real boss, I guess, which is Adam 1. Now, Adam 1 is a very finicky little boy. He is also naked. But yes, he is really tricky. Sheng thankfully got okay RNG. Now, Adam can choose to do a few things at really bad times, and one of those things is counter-attacking by pulling up a shield, and then once you try to break the shield, he just counter-attacks anyway, and then he can backflip to the other side of the arena, like he just did there. He can shoot bullets at you, he can change his hitbox, he can do a lot of horrible, horrible things to you. But Sheng had a pretty easy time with him, I've got to say. And he also got both of the phase skips. It's pretty hard to notice as a casual player, but he actually skipped a large chunk of dialogue there, and a large chunk of Adam just teleporting around the arena in his ranged phase. And that was done with very careful management of damage glitches and lasers.
It stopped. Looks like we're safe now.
And now he's escaping from this desert area with pretty clean movement.
I know. I've never seen a machine like that before.
Hopefully Pipes can, catch up to him with cleaner movement. I'm really proud when people do this section properly because I've put a lot of time into optimizing the movement here. It's like my little speed baby. And, oh, something I didn't point out before is that when they did those buys from the Desert Merchant, they also unlocked a transporter. And Sheng has just clipped out of bound using that box. You pod launch through the box and then dash sideways, and you actually get into the walls. And now he's just gone in range of that transporter. He's saving and he's loading. So what that's going to do is it's going to mean that he doesn't need to walk all the way to the transporter. He can just go within the saving radius, save, load, and on the other end of this loading screen, he will suddenly be at the transporter. So it's not so much a glitch or even an exploit really. I suppose the clipping out is a glitch, and the reason you need to clip out is because you can't save your game if dialogue is going. And through that tunnel that you would have had to go through if you didn't clip out, there is a piece of dialogue there. And it lasts about 30 seconds, so you need to clip out to be able to do that trick.
We've lost contact with several Yorha units that were on their way to the surface. Their black boxes are online, so we presume they're still alive. We've tracked the location of their signals, so I need all Yorha units on the surface to head over and investigate.
This game is a lot better than a game made by EA. Just gonna throw that out there.
I heard something about that back at the Resistance camp.
Target location confirmed. I'm worried about the other androids. We should probably check
Alright.
this out as soon as possible.
Pipes.
Looks like
So
our
this is the
service
phase that
is
Sheng avoided.
So 2B,
We saw him go up
shoot
onto the
that
girder up
target
above the
just
arena,
like androids, right?
and then on Pipes' screen he actually teleported to another position because he wasn't done yet.
Why would machines try to look like us?
Adam is annoying like that. But if you can deal enough damage while he's on the first position,
I
then
suppose.
he finishes attack and just comes down to you instead of teleporting around. At this point, I think Sheng has about a minute or a minute and a half ahead of Panpipes.
What are those?
Sheng is a pretty seasoned runner. I think his...
What the?
where is he even on the boards? He's in top 10, I believe. Maybe 5 or 6? Yeah, Sheng is number 7 on the boards. So he's a pretty good runner. And now you're going to see one of the most impressive clip outs from a casual perspective. You just go onto this roof, do a plunge, and you're out of bounds. And actually below where Sheng is right now, there's a huge void. And you don't want to fall into there. You drown and get water in your lungs and all sorts of horrible stuff happens. But anyway, he did a pretty good job of that skip. He needed to deviate there, you might have seen, slightly just to hit a trigger.
If they aren't hostile,
And that's a common theme in this game, you know. A lot of the skips that we could do are gated by triggers. Or, you know, invisible walls that extend way up into the sky. We can go pretty high in this game, but not that high.
For the purposes of amusement, it was commonly referred to as a roller
So that entire Let's Play skip that Sheng just did basically beelined from the entrance of amusement park to the roller coaster. And the roller coaster, again, surprise, is a required trigger. You need to ride on this thing. Well, you don't need to ride on it. You need to send this roller coaster off. You can be on it, or with great difficulty you can choose not to be on it, which is part of that latest reroute that I mentioned earlier. But this roller coaster needs to go all the way around. Once it gets to the end of its tracks, you jump off it, enter the next boss fight, fight the best boss in the game, and have a good old time. Yeah, check this, let's not talk about roller coaster. Roller coaster's a nightmare. Let's just avoid the topic. Ooh, pipes. Spaghetti. Delicious, delicious spaghetti. Except I've already had dinner, baby rage. I guess there's always more room in my stomach for spaghetti. So this is best boss.
What the hell?
It's actually, well, the worst phase of this boss is actually pretty damn terrible in the speedrun. And you'll see why in a second, perhaps. But this first phase is pretty easy. It's actually something that you can accidentally do is kill this first phase of Beauvoir too quickly. And so her first attack is always going to be blades. But if you kill her before she chooses to do blades, then she will choose another attack instead of blades. It could be blades, but it could also be one of, 6 or 7 other attacks, all of which are longer than blades. So you want to wait until she chooses blades, because she's going to attack no matter what. And then once she chooses blades, you get her down to her health threshold, and she completes blades and then goes back to the stage. That's basically how quickly we can do it. We can kill things pretty quickly, but if the game's game flow doesn't allow for us to advance the fight any quicker, then there's not much we can do. Now, Sheng is in the second phase of the boss, which is the worst phase, objectively. You have this horrible, horrible camera perspective, and you can't change it at all. And you have to dodge these hacking waves, and he got hacked once, I think. So there's this first wave of androids that are dead, being used as enemies, scattered around the arena, and you just have to go and kill all of them. And then after that, a second wave comes down, which is even bigger, and those guys send out lots and lots of hacking waves, and if you touch the waves, you have to enter this hacking sequence. And it's not as fun as it sounds. It's really not. It's like a 5-second time loss every hack. But Sheng only got one of them, which is about average, I think.
What is it?
How much has Pipes had to drink? Well, I think that'll be a question for the for the post-race interview. I think he had a whole bottle of soju. But don't take it from me. And for those wondering, Pipes is Australian. I'm Australian. And it's, coming up to 11 PM for us now, so very happy hour. If you're American, I think it's like 9 AM for you, so, probably wouldn't be very happy. Unless you love your job. But anyway, so Sheng is now heading from amusement park over to Pascal's village. Pretty standard flat ground movement here, dash swinging, a few little gaps here and there to avoid.
So why don't the machines, or the aliens who created them, attack the bunker directly? They originally came here from outer
Alright, he did a
space,
fine
right?
job.
Well, there are a few theories about that, but no one knows for sure. Hard to tell what an alien is thinking,
EU-friendly poggers. Yeah, this race is like friendly for all time zones. Probably the best time to have it, really. Alright. So, Sheng is just picking up another quest now from Pascal. Our friendly robot from the pacifist robot village. Really weird theme in this game. Robot sentience and meaning in their lives. And we'll see more of that later.
We can get into the city ruins if we move that box.
Oof, that was really clean. Sheng just did a box flip there. Saves a few seconds, but the way he did it isn't consistent in my experience, but he just went right through there. It was godlike.
2B here. What's wrong?
Shoutouts to 6-0, by the way. If I could pat 6-0 on the head right now, I would. Give her a hug. If we have any half-coordinated subs in the chat. HCO609. No. But anyway, we see Sheng has just baited an animal. And so you can see he's moving pretty quickly to resistance camp, right? But that's not the reason we use the bait there. So it's actually quicker to just beeline to resistance camp rather than go and bait and then wait for an animal. But the reason we use an animal here is so that we die.
So,
It sounds pretty weird, but in a moment you're going to see why. So we're just turning in this quest. We got this key item, which was, I think, machine oil. And we need that for the quest to turn into Pascal. But now we're just going to shoot an animal.
What do you think?
The animal is hopefully going to be friendly.
Now
Yep.
you believe we're not a threat?
Good boy.
You're...
And so we've died. But in this game, key items are retained when you die. You can only really lose progress by quitting out of the game or having a game crash and then loading your file. So a death isn't just, you go back to your previous save.
What do you think?
A death is you go back to the last position you saved at, so the last transporter, and you keep the key items. You do lose your experience, like in Dark Souls. You drop a body that you have to go and pick up, and that also has all your plug-in chips that you have equipped.
This is an emergency transmission from the
But
bunker.
yeah, you keep the key items, which is the main thing. And so we've basically just gone Pascal's village to Resistance Camp, and then from Resistance Camp, death warped back to Pascal's village. And so we saved like 30-40 seconds of movement just from clever planning.
2B, Command is deploying new flight units for us. They just sent the coordinates, so let's get going.
Oh, is it viscous oil? My bad. Guys, the oil was viscous. Olive oil is for cooking. Yes. You shouldn't use it on machines? Well, what if you have a cooking machine? Like an oven?
We probably
Or a
shouldn't
stove.
get near that guy's feet.
Those are machines,
Yeah,
right?
No, let's find another route.
Stoves have feelings, man. Alright,
The flight
so
units
story-wise,
should be on the roof of that building up ahead.
on Sheng's screen,
But we're not going in.
we've got two of these giant Goliaths from Prologues. You might remember them. The big bad boys who give you, 23 seconds of RNG loss. So we have two of them that have invaded the city ruins, and so we're going to put a stop to them. Our goal here is to get to a set of flight units on top of a really tall building. Who knows why they parked them there? That's a really dumb place to put them. But we've got to get all the way up to them. Unfortunately, we get intercepted by this Engels on top of the roof here. But fortunately, this invisible wall stopping us is actually only a certain height. And with clever high jumps, you can get right over that invisible wall. Skip the entire fight,
Careful. The skies are
get into the
packed
flight
with
unit,
Make sure
and
you
thank
blow up.
God they didn't put a mandatory kill trigger on Engels, because that would have been hell. It would have been like worse RNG than the one in Prologue. Because you would have to wait for him to punch you and then melee attack him to kill him. Killing him from a range would take so long. But anyway, so thanks to the devs, we can just jump over that wall. You can also jump through the wall because for some reason, for a few seconds, there's a hole in the wall. Unfortunately, Sheng messed it up, and I've got to say, it's super easy to mess up, despite how easy it is. But yeah. So Sheng's gone on to kill Engels. I mentioned earlier that we have a pod program in the flight unit. Shoots out the little swirls of missiles. And if you just sit in the nook between Engels' head and his shoulder, you can use that and all of the bullets in the spray will hit him. So you can use two of those and he just dies instantly.
For the first time in
It's
centuries,
beautiful.
We've intercepted a signal belonging to the aliens. These are the creatures that are in direct command
Wait,
of the
Pipes did
machine
war
life forms
hops?
on this planet.
Poggers, dude.
If we can destroy them,
If you're riding a boar, it's actually quicker to spam jump
But it seems to be underground.
rather than sprinting with it.
Like way underground.
Guess we'll see once we get there.
It's also swag.
If we're lucky.
You're not much for plans, are you, 2B?
Now something else I didn't mention earlier. Again, there are a lot of things to mention in this game. But we picked up a second pod.
Seems like they've been here for
So
a
we have
long
this
time.
pod hovering above us.
What is this?
This one's the Gatling gun pod.
There's nothing like
You
it.
can also get a laser pod, but we got the missile pod. So we have pod A, the Gatling, and pod C, the missile. And this means that you can technically use pod A, use a pod program, and then swap pods, and use a pod program on the second pod. So basically just double pod program, and you can actually triple pod program through a clever exploit. Only works with this particular combo of pods.
We can grow. We can become aware. Eventually, the intelligence within our network began to surpass.
Pipe seems like it's struggling a bit.
You'd probably be
I wonder why.
You destroyed your own creators.
But basically, to explain what just happened to Pipes, he got to Pascal's village. I don't know if he activated the transporter, but he didn't save at the transporter. And so when he did the death warp, he keeps his progress, I believe. He keeps the key item. But he goes all the way back to Beauvoir, which is where he last, had a checkpoint. So he's going to go from Amusement Park to Pascal's village again, and hopefully not have to do the quest all over. And did you see that on Sheng's screen? What was that? I've never seen that before. I'm joking, I have. I see it every day. So he did a really high jump. Started off with a heavy counterattack on an enemy. And that puts you... It's like you're on the ground, but you start off way up in the air. And so from there you can do, heavy attack in midair, lift, heavy, jump, heavy, SD, heavy, and actually self-destructing in midair. Pressing the self-destruct button resets your heavy attack. So you can use that to gain even more height. And so he's just left the fight. He jumped over a really tall invisible wall. And now he's out there killing enemies for experience. Yeah, he just leveled up. What a god. But yeah, you can't actually skip the fight because it's based on the dialogue.
Back this way again? What a pain.
Stop complaining.
This way again? What a pain.
2B.
Yeah.
We now have an operational transporter in the city room.
Shut up,
We're
Ninus.
attempting to deploy them at other points as well.
About time we had access to those.
Care to fill me in?
Transporters? They let you transfer your consciousness to a temporary body back in the bunker.
Hey, so
They're like
Mute Ninus, I agree. 100%. Pipes is, I've noticed here and there he's doing some silly little things. Not sure whether they're intentional or not. I'd like to hope not, because, well, to explain the way the tournament is working right now, these two runners are placing top 2 in their bracket of 4, and we have 8 brackets of 4, and the top 2 runners of every bracket go into, oh my god, that was really unfortunate. They go into the double elimination stage. Both of these runners have already gotten into double elimination, guaranteed,
It's been a while.
but you're seeded in the double elimination based on your win count, first of all, and then your average race time in the tournament. So, if he plays really well in this race, he could make the second round easier for himself by getting a better seed, right? So I wouldn't condone or approve of messing around in a race like this, because it'll change the second round for you. Wow, he just got the hole in the wall. Nice. So that'll save a bit of time, a few seconds. Not enough to make up for the spaghetti, but we can always hope. Talking too much to notice his spaghetti. When is E-ending tourney? You can organize that one. Alright, so Sheng is quite a way ahead of Pipes now. So Sheng just did the biggest shopping section of the run. What he did was he sold a particular drop from a set of bosses, and that sells for a lot of money. Basically funds all our purchases for the rest of the run. And that is the machine core. And so he sold those, he sold his old small buffs, bought new, bigger, better buffs, And he will be using those ones that he just bought for the rest of the run.
When do you think
We
you'll
buy
be
enough
willing
here
call
to
me
last us for the whole
nice?
thing.
9S works just fine.
He also sold some chips, some useless, you know, UI chips, like
This
minimap
job can
and
be pretty rough sometimes,
gosh, I don't
huh?
even know what else he
We don't
sold,
get
but
to choose our assignments.
a few different useless things that don't provide us any benefit in the speedrun. So that frees up space in the equip slots of the chips for better
This
chips.
must be the commercial
And
structure
I
Pascal
didn't
was
quite
talking
catch
about.
which
For the
which
record, they say
chips
it was
Sheng
once a
happened to get from the
facility known as
enemies, because they are
shopping
RNG drops. But hopefully he got a few crit chips.
Maybe.
That's what we like to see. Other than that, you can get weapon attack ups or shockwaves. They're also good, but crits are king. Oh yeah, he did get a few crits.
Who the heck is the forest
Holy
king?
moly.
You're getting
Check this
Yeah,
guy.
so
He's just
crits in
right
this
over
game are
there.
really special. Crits do 5 times the damage, rather than, you know, 200% like they do in most other games. And you'll know that a crit has happened when there's a big spark on an enemy on contact with your sword, and it
Looks like the
makes the sound of
forest is just
smashing
ahead.
glass. That's what that is. It's not, you know, some hooligan in the streets below. Don't be alarmed. It could be Pipes, you know, smashing his glass though, because he's angry at how bad he's playing. I don't know. But yeah, Sheng having those crit chips is really nice. It can enable you to do some quick strats on late game bosses, but it's also kind of risky at the same time. You're basically banking your fight on the RNG, because crits of course are RNG. Some fancy movement here from Sheng. This forest movement here is also my baby, my speed baby. He does it pretty well. Not the strat I use, but, you know, I'm okay with this. It's good enough.
How are we supposed to reach that castle?
And you can see here, the movement in this game is absolutely superb. And we'll see if Sheng goes for the new, well, a few months old skip called Rainbow Road. Yeah, it looks like he's going for it. He can do it. Ooh. Alright, he does that really weirdly, but he made it. He made it alright. Great job, Sheng. So we used to do a skip there called Mario Kart, which is where you do a special little thing that I can't really explain right now, but special piece of movement. And you go into a different drown zone. You get inside the, like a respawn box of a different area, and then, you know, you drown and it puts you where you shouldn't really have been, but it's like, hey, you were here earlier because you were in the respawn box, so I'm just gonna respawn you over here. But now we don't need to do that. We can just go straight into the castle. And also, he's been out of bounds most of this time, and he is now at the next boss. Didn't need to do much in the castle, did we? We just climbed up the windows.
2B, that's an android. A Yorha typing
That saves a good minute or so.
This unit is currently wanted by
Pipes is getting, quote, dropped inputs.
Annihilation?
Okay, Pipes.
Why?
Okay.
Let's go, 9S.
2B?
More like dropped inputs from your brains to your hands.
Bunker to 2B and 9S. We've picked up a signal from the black box of a fugitive known as A2. What you see in front of you is your enemy.
Let's go after her, 2B.
Alright, Pipes is done with A2. Pretty good fight. And what you might not have noticed is that he actually plunged through a dialogue trigger. If there's no other way to pass through that dialogue trigger other than plunging, because the plunge is kind of interrupted by the dialogue, like you lose control, but it also continues. So you lose control, but the plunge continues, sends you through at the other end of the dialogue trigger. And the special thing about that dialogue trigger there, and why we have to plunge through it, is because when you enter it, a little box comes up down the bottom saying, hey, go chase after A2 instead of coming back this way, and it pushes you back towards A2. Like, you actually lose control of the character, and 2B automatically walks back towards where A2 went. So it actually saves like a minute 40 or something to plunge through that trigger. It's not very hard, but it's a bigger time save than you might think. Because if you chase after A2, you have to sit through so much dialogue. It actually is like almost 2 minutes. It's crazy. You want me to commentate your life so you know where your time loss is on a day-to-day basis. That sounds like something we could probably do. Maybe one day. If you come over to Australia, I'll point out time losses. Please no hand wash skip. That's disgusting. Alright, so Sheng doing another nice little out of bounds here. I think this is one of the coolest skips, honestly. So he clipped out of bounds at Resistance Camp. The easiest clip out in the whole game. You just jump between a box and a wall, and gravity pushes you into the wall. And then so while he was out of bounds in a very high up location, he plunged down to a cutscene trigger we need to get, but he actually got the trigger from out of bounds. By kind of propelling himself up into it, but not quite into bounds. And then he let himself fall into the void, and when you fall for too long, say like 5 seconds in this game, the game is like, alright, something's up here, you've been falling for way too long, buddy, and it puts you back where you were last grounded. So whether that's in bounds or out of bounds, and we call that a void out. Ooh, this is one of the places we utilize it, but most of the time it's a bad thing, it's just a time loss. Ooh. That was cool. Sheng just did something I haven't seen before. I'm not sure that was faster, but that was really cool. But anyway, so he hit the cutscene trigger, voided out, got put back, like way high up, and then he did like the drown warp that I mentioned earlier in the forest. And so he basically skipped all of Flooded City. He got the mandatory trigger, he got to where he needs to be next. Basically in the shortest time possible. And way shorter than the devs would ever have hoped. Or maybe not hoped. So yeah. Now we are into the worst part of the run. Probably the part where a lot of runners have said, hey, I love running this game, but you know what? I just can't stand this 12-minute auto-scroller. I can't stand this being in every PB attempt. And so we come to the point where I tell you guys, hey, if you can figure out a way to skip this auto-scroller in a way that can be done in a run, in a viable way, then we will pay you at least $2,000 US. Sincerely, 100% not joking. We actually have a bounty for a skip. If you can skip this entire auto-scroller in an A&D run without, you know, messing up the rest of the run, then we will pay you. Hasn't been done yet. Probably never will be if I'm honest, but, you know, we can always hope. Think about it, if you can skip this, then so many runners who have sold their souls to this game and then taken their souls back with force by quitting, they will come back to this. They will be like, hey, this auto-scroller is gone. I am very, very happy. And you know what? I think I'm going to be the happiest out of anyone, because I hate this. I absolutely hate it. But you know what? I'm going to commentate this like I've never seen this before. Huh? What is this? Goliath Flyer. Whoa. Did he just go really close to the Goliath flyer so that all of his pod program shots would hit the enemy? Wow. There are lots of projectiles on screen. Looks pretty scary. And there he goes, using 2 more pod programs to finish off the fight. And we heard the level up ding there. That ding is really important. So it means that he got a level up, and really we don't care about the level up so much, because if you got different values for experience throughout the run, then maybe you could have it so that you didn't level up from that kill. But really, we like the level up because that means we got experience. In this game, your ally's level is determined by your level, but when an ally kills an enemy, like deals the last hit, like in League or Dota, you know, they get the experience. You don't get any experience. But it doesn't work the same way the other way, you know. If you kill something, they pretty much get the experience. Like their level's the same as your level. But anyway, if 9S kills that enemy, that big boss that gives a lot of experience, then that'll slow you down for the rest of the run, because it means you didn't get experience. You're probably going to miss out on a level or 2 for the rest of the run, and you're going to be dealing less damage. You're also going to have less health, so it's a little bit scary. But we're really happy that Sheng got that ding there, and not the dong. Big boss. Whoa, is that a laser? Coming out of the big fish? Crikey. Crikey, governor. Yeah, everyone, I just want to say Parallax2137 in chat here is going to be the next world record holder for this game. He's going to come out of nowhere and bot my time. It's going to be something great. He started running like 2 days ago. He's going to beast mode it. Look at him so nervous as I put him on the spot. Dude, does Nems have a face? I didn't know Nems had a face. I guess he probably does, it would only make sense. You didn't start running yet? But you did tricks. Tricks is the first step of running. You're pretty much running, but the run is segmented into tricks. And you did a trick, therefore you are running. Oh yeah, Blue Metal in chat is also going to have the world record. And so is Zero once he actually starts running the game again, please. Ohio. Alright, so something interesting is actually happening here on Sheng's screen. He's fighting one of 3 mini-bosses in Grun. So there are these 3 EMP generators that you need to take out. And then once they're all taken out, Command has a way to damage the boss. Actually, after you take out this first one, they try and shoot a laser at it, but it still has EMP shielding. They were just too dumb to like notice the other generators on it. So now that the laser's missed, they're gonna go try something special. You'll see what it is. So there's the big fish.
2B, let's leave this area to the reinforcements. I have an idea. You and I
Ninus has an idea. PogChamp. Triple world record haul? Yeah, dude. Easy. We'll just end the game on the same frame. Easy as pie. Alright, so... Ooh, what's this? Huh? That energy bullet did nothing to Grun.
Let's try for a more
What's going on? I've never seen this before.
Oh, right. That's
I'm in total suspense here.
Fire in its stupid mouth.
That shot did something. It went inside his stupid mouth. Third shot. Ooh, right in the tongue. Right in his flippy fish tongue. Alright, so... Oh, it looks like Grun just got a bit angry. He used to be a fish, but now he's kind of standing on two legs. Swinging his arms around. Gotta drop 3 loads in the mouth. Yes. Alright, so what we've done so far, I talked about the 3 mini-bosses in this auto-scroller. You know, I call it an auto-scroller, but it's got bits here and there where you can actually lose time. Which are the 3 mini-bosses and that little energy cannon bit. So he's taken out the first EMP generator, he's fired the energy bullets into Grun's mouth, and now he has to take out 2 more EMP generators. So this little travel bit here, you see Grun in the background, it's all automated. Doesn't matter how quickly you kill things, you're basically just doing it for experience. Alright, and when he comes up to the second one, I'll explain what's going on there. God, look at all these flyers getting annihilated. Big boom. Pipes has kind of stopped. He's got the game open, he's got his menu open. Huh. Alright, oh, Sheng's coming up, so we got these 4 little orbiting balls around the big ball. And you need to take out the 4 balls, as you would expect, before you can reach the big ball. Because the big one's got a shield on it. So it's like 1 EMP generator, protected by 4 little EMP generators. You know, I'm not a well, I am a scientist. I'm a scientist in learning, but I would say that this probably isn't how EMP works in real life. Just a hunch. But whatever. It's a video game. It's cool. Wait, is that gonna hit us? Oh my god. He just got hit by that massive arm, and he's not dead. He didn't even take any damage. Sheng is truly a god at this game. Is it pronounced Grun or Grun? I think the double dot above it said Grun. Unfortunately, Pipes is just kind of sitting around. I don't know if he's like throwing up from being drunk or it is right before his least favorite part of the run. I know he really hates Grim just like I do. So maybe he's just decided to call it quits there because he's not having a good run, I'm not sure. Hopefully we'll see him continue though. Oh, important phone call came in, okay. So we should see him continue. But Sheng is on the final mini-boss of this big boss. Great, he does a good job. So you can take out the 4 little guys with swings and pod fire in your flight unit. And then you take out the big one with a point blank, you know, right on center pod program. And the same hitbox thing happens that we were talking about earlier. So all of the bullets from the pod program hit the hitbox instantly. And the boss goes down really quickly. But yay, that's the end of Grun. Now we get into the really good stuff. Here on out until the end of the run is my favorite part of the run. A lot of interesting stuff is going to be happening in the end game. And in fact, we're coming up to one of the most infamous skips in the run. It only saves 20 seconds. You know, it's a good chunk of time, but it's not crazy. But most runners will be going for this. And it is called Copied City Clip, or Copied City Skip. There's an easy version, which is about 5 or 6 seconds slower than the fast one. Most people go for this fast one. The gist of it is, it's a very, very precise thrust angle with your sword. And we'll see Sheng lining 2B's feet up with a line on the ground. You may not be able to see it. Did he backdashes twice there for good luck or something? Maybe it makes it easier for him. I've never seen anyone do that. That is really strange. Huh. I'm gonna ask him about that. That's pretty interesting. But anyway, we saw him take a few tries to get it, which is unfortunate. Actually doing the skip only saves 20 seconds as opposed to running around the long way. So he was barely even saving time from doing it, unfortunately. Yes, I see. I've been playing it for 12 months and I haven't seen that.
This area is composed of crystallized silicon and carbon.
What's with the corpses?
Actually, it is like bang on 12 months since I started playing. Well, we're 4 days over. Dang, 9th of July 2017. Can I get a shout out for my anniversary of speedrunning this game? Thanks. Alright, back to Commentech. Wow, okay. Sheng just got that clip first try. That is mansplaining clip. This whole thing that he's doing right now is mansplaining skip. Great name, apt name. Adam's just gonna keep on talking, but we can cut him off with another piece of dialogue and that ends the first phase. So the dialogue that Adam has is broken into 3 chunks. We had to get out of bounds to get here, and there's a piece of dialogue inside this elevator that we just called back. Okay, so you saw Sheng waiting there for a few seconds. He was waiting for the voice line "only then" from Adam. As soon as Adam says "only then," you know you've entered the 3rd chunk of dialogue. If he was to go into the elevator during the 1st or 2nd chunks of dialogue, it would skip that chunk and then start at the beginning of the next chunk. So you want to skip the 3rd chunk, which is the longest, and the final chunk. And then Adam stops his dialogue, stops the phase, moves on to phase 2. And this is phase 2. And all in all, that saves like 40 seconds just from skipping a piece of dialogue. Come to me. Come to Papa. Alright, phase 3 Adam. He gets enhanced, he does a lot more damage, he's a lot quicker, shoots more bullets, spawns more tentacles. We didn't see any of that though, because he died. And that's the end of Adam. Meanwhile, Pipes is on the best part of the game. Poggers.
What? No, okay, got it.
Report.
That was not your Discord, that was, well, it was just inside your head.
Analyze current trends among the machines. Huh.
Okay.
Something tells me this is
So, Sheng just did a little dialogue skip there. If you talk to an NPC, opening a dialogue box, and then move into the trigger for another piece of dialogue, then you cancel out both pieces of dialogue. And we've used that a couple of times that I haven't mentioned, because the run just goes so fast. But doing that means that he got to read his mail instantly at Resistance Camp, which speeds along this pathing here. Normally you would wait for the dialogue, come out this way, speak to a terminal. after you wait for the dialogue to finish. And then that's a little deviation off the B line here, so
Why don't they move in?
I believe
it's quicker to just cancel the dialogue immediately, read,
You don't
come
say.
straight to the factory.
apparently it's located in the abandoned factory. I can give you the coordinates if you'd like.
Please.
I was actually planning to
Alright.
speak with them myself, you know.
Shane's doing some pretty nice movement here.
Sounds good.
Target location data obtained. Marking on map.
Commentator can hear the noises in your head. Aren't I in your head?
should probably be careful. We machines can be rather unpredictable.
Even you?
Dude, look at what Sheng's doing right now.
Now that we're cut off from the network, we no longer share data with each other.
If you've played this game, you know what this is. You know what this is. And yes, it is true. It is happening.
It certainly does.
We're trying to look up 2B's skirt. 2B shoos the camera away, but if you put it in a particular position, the camera doesn't move, and you can just chain the animation over and over again. We're a very persistent pervert. But the reason why we do that is because in this particular instance, it is faster than the movement we would be doing otherwise. And Sheng is doing a little bit of out-of-bounds swag there for no reason. Extra points in my book. But yeah, normally you would be slow walking during that section, but if you keep on doing that and 2B keeps on shooing the camera away, then it's actually faster. And this section contains the best skip, in my opinion. It may be the hardest sequence of skips we have in the run so far. Not because of precision, but more just because of how complex it is. It's, you know, a few minutes of skippage. You need to go here, do that, land on this thing, don't do this, don't do that, or you soft lock, or you die. You know, there's a lot to keep in mind, and a lot to learn. So I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. The whole thing is deep factory skip.
My name is Pascal.
Wow, he's swagging off with that shit.
Peace treaty?
Woof. Okay, so in this room you're supposed to kill a set number of enemies, and then the elevator opens. It unlocks.
This is shady.
Instead, he's going to be clipping out. Oh, never mind, he doesn't. He doesn't do the clip. That's okay. That's just a little extension to the deep factory skips.
Less talk, more running.
Saves like 8 seconds.
We've had a run-in with hostile machines.
So he's going to kill these guys as quickly as possible.
Need an immediate escape.
Elevator opens,
The door on the other side of the room just
and now we get to the girthy bit of the skip. So this room that he's in is called the Mook's room. This room is really high up in terms of, you know, the big deep factory area. And we're not going to see much of deep factory because of this skip. So he's taking the elevator down to 9S room, which is pretty low in the factory. This is a mandatory trigger here. He's gotten it, and now he's going to void out. And it may seem pointless, you know, he's just going out of bounds, going into the void, and then coming back into bounds. But what it actually does when you void out here is it opens the elevator. Technically the elevator door was still open, but if you go into the elevator in that state, the elevator wouldn't take you anywhere. So now he's actually closed the door, he can open it back up and ride the elevator back up to the Mook's room, which is completely unintended. You, however, can't leave the factory because there's no way to progress the story. So we clip out in the Mook's room. Just like that, perfect. Oh, getting stuck a bit there. And then let's just bless RNG here. Oh, didn't quite get it, but he gets another shot. This is the hardest part of the skip. Well, it's not super precise timing, but it takes a lot of practice to get this. So basically what he's doing, he's out of bounds right now, getting a bit stuck on the terrain here, it's pretty wonky. He is out of bounds, he's going to plunge down to a required trigger in another area of the factory. Once he hits the trigger, he's going to time a pod hover so that he voids out, gets teleported back up, but since he's hit the trigger, like that, see we get dialogue now? So he is back up here, he's hit the trigger, we can progress. It's quite a precise pod hover timing to not land on the ground, because of course if you land on the ground down there, you won't get the void out. There is no way to come back up. And so he's come back up to the mix room, and then from there he's gone straight to the end of the factory. So he's hit all the triggers, now he's going to the factory boss. Yeah, he had a little bit of trouble with that, partially due to Pascal behind him. Pascal can kind of push you off the slim bit of ground that you have to stand on there and into the janky terrain. And here we have Soshi. Soshi is the first of 4 balls. Yep, we have 4 balls at the end of the run. I repeat, 4 balls. This ball has legs. The second one does too, but the third and fourth ones don't. Just a fun fact. The fourth one does have a tail though. Anyway, so in this first little bit of Soshi, there is dialogue, and you can see Soshi has a giant beam of light coming out of his head. That is because he is being protected by the factory. He's draining the power out of the factory and using it to shield himself, so we just get stuck on this bridge here just to stay out of danger. But when the time comes, Sheng is going to drop down from the bridge. He's buffing up now in preparation. The shield is going to drop, and he's going to go ham on this guy. And you can see his health is disappearing very quickly. So Soshi's health is all gone now. He's going to transform, and we're going to deal the final blow. And that's the end of the fight. So pretty standard fight there for Sheng. Now, while I was commentating that, I realized I'd left out something fundamental to combat in the run. So we have the double damage glitch, multiplies our damage by 5. But then we have wait. Yeah, we have damage glitch, which multiplies the damage by 5, but then we have double damage glitch, which doesn't double our damage necessarily, but it means that we can have 2 of the 5 times damage swords spinning out at once. And we do that by duplicating the weapon set. So we have a small sword on heavy, which is what we need to do the damage glitch. And then in the other set, because you can have 2 weapon sets in this game, in the other set, you have the same thing. So you can throw out a damage glitch, change your weapon set, and throw out another damage glitch. And so you have 2 spinning swords at once, both dealing 5 times the base damage, both shredding the boss. And so the way you cycle it is you do it over and over again. You know, swap weapon set, damage glitch, swap weapon set, damage glitch, and it's a constant thing. You're constantly renewing the spinning. And that's the basis for combat throughout most of the run.
No thanks.
Alright, Sheng with some pretty solid movement here.
I'm heading back to the resistance.
Pretty nice strats.
What about you?
I wish Marble Soda would use some nice strats.
I have plenty on my plate there.
I see.
And Pipes is done with Grun as well. Not sure how long he took for Copied City Skip,
Say again?
but
Not receiving.
he's now in the best area casually of the game. Copied City, it's beautiful.
Let's move.
So Adam's Panpipes is coming up to Adam now, and Sheng is entering the end game boss rush.
Why are there numbers
So he's going to be coming up to the second ball soon enough.
Try contacting the bunker.
Well, he'll have a little bit of a fight, and then the second ball, and then the third ball, and the fourth ball, and then the final boss. Yeah, Sheng is on very good pace right now, I think. Basically what Zero is saying in chat. He did have a mishap on Factory there, but, you know, it happens.
You reach. God, good luck.
Did something happen on Pipe's screen? After falling off the box? Yeah, you can do that. Okay, Pipes gets mansplaining as well. Wait, yes. No issues there. I just thought he didn't for a second. Okay. Now there's a big guy at the end of this auto. Well, here's the least challenging part of the the side scroller. Because the main challenge in the side scroller is to not evade enemy attacks while you're damage glitching, because of course, damage glitch is dash plus heavy. Those are the inputs. And dashing is your evade. So you want to not evade enemy attacks, because that puts you into a state where if you attack for like a second afterwards, it'll come out as a counter attack. And counter attacking isn't damage glitching. So it's always bad to evade enemy attacks. You would rather completely avoid them, or use your iframes from the damage glitch. Use those iframes while the attack is going to be hitting you, so that just nothing happens, it just doesn't make contact. But yeah, combat in this game is very nuanced. More so than it would appear.
I'm fine. Let's take this bastard down. Right.
Commencing fishing.
Pipes' timer appears to have stopped. Technical issues. I'm sure he'll sort it out eventually. But in the meantime, we got this godly Sheng combat. Sheng just took out the third ball. Coming up to the fourth ball. PogChamp. Unfortunately, it looks like Pipes is forfeiting the race. And that is very unfortunate indeed, because he could get a decent time. His time would be sub 140, maybe sub 135. Well, probably sub 140. But it looks like he's going to be tanking the 2 hour 30 seeding time for the next stage of the tournament. Which again is very unfortunate, but you know, tech issues happen. It seemed like his game was not performing very well, which sucks. And it's this game is really demanding, and you have a god rig. Sometimes it just, you know, it just has its off days.
Do be careful.
Wow, okay, so Sheng has now killed the fourth ball. Sheng is level 20. And level 20 versus level 19 for the player level gives you 8% DPS increase on this next boss. So that's pretty nice. With the route he chose to do, it's expected that he would be level 20 by the end of the run. So that's good that he got level 20. I'm happy.
Everything must die! Why did you kill my brother?
And now he's taking on the final boss, which is Eve. Now we'll see what he chooses to do here. He should be fine. Yeah, okay, so he got a skip on that boss that you wouldn't have noticed, called Platform Skip. Eve has an attack where if he's between about 30% and 45% of his max health, his next attack that he chooses will be Platforms. And that's the attack where he goes right up into the air, summons a bunch of floating platforms, and you have to climb the platforms to meet him on the topmost one, and then deal enough damage for him to come down from platforms. Really annoying, really long, but if you can burst him down through that health threshold before he gets a chance to attack, then that's perfect. You don't get the platforms. And now we're on phase 3. I kind of missed what happened in phase 2. I sound so sick? Yeah, I am a little sick. Get blocked up. But Pipes, Sheng is unblocking my nose with his godly plays right now. And... oh! Ooh, that was scary. Okay, he's big... oh, Sheng. Sheng, don't do this to me, dude. He's spaghettiing a little bit. No, 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 no. So what he's trying to do right now is fully channel a self-destruct, and Eve is at the health threshold, or he was a while ago, where a fully channeled self-destruct and explosion would have taken him down to the next phase. But a few unfortunate things happened. He staggered Eve a few times, which means you can't do the ST explosion then. You need to have Eve stay still for long enough to get the explosion off. And you need to be buffed, and Eve needs to be taunted, and all these things have a set duration. And it's kind of hard to match everything up and get the perfect situation where you can just go in and kapow. So he ended up taking that pretty slowly. He wasn't sure if he wanted to self-destruct or not, but in the end he got him down. That's the final boss done.
It's okay.
And time for him will be coming up in about 20 seconds. Good job, Sheng. That's a really good time for a race. Sub 130, Poggers.
Upload this corrupted data to the bunker.
And I would say Sheng played that run really well. You know, in Deep Factory, that little mishap there, that was a really good run. And it's unfortunate what happened with Panpipes, but, you know, again, tech issues happen, especially with this game. Yeah, the time is a load list, not IGT. So IGT in the save file in this game counts everything. It counts menu time before the run, it counts load screens. It's basically like a worse version of RTA. But loadless, now loadless is the good timing method. Loadless makes it fair. So we use loadless. Any more races today? No, so this race was the last one of stage 1 of the NieR Automata A-Ending Tournament, year 2018, aka Nasty 18. So that is stage 1 done. So this upcoming Monday, July the 16th, this Monday, we are going to start on stage 2 of this tournament. So we started off with 32 players, and the top 16 players are going to be invited to participate in a double elimination. And so that is officially starting next Monday. I'm not sure when the first match is going to be because we need to draft the matchups and do all the technical stuff, and then we need to let players know and they'll schedule. But if you follow the spreadsheet that we've made up, you guys can find out when the matches are. It'll all be posted on there. We've got a running history of the games. I'm going to post that in chat right now. So it's tournament.nierspeedrun.com, and if you follow that link through, scratch that. If you post that, paste that into your URL bar. Just give me a sec, guys. Calm down. Calm your horses. Yeah, use that one. It needs the HTTP bit at the front, but if you follow that link through, you come to the tournament spreadsheet. You'll be on the matchups page for this stage we just completed. There are a few different sheets down the bottom. You know, you got your match history, your seeds. There's going to be seeding for the next stage, and we're going to have a big stats tab. There have been a lot of PBs and stuff during this tournament. But anyway, let's try and get the runners in for an interview.
looking too big.
Who are...
It looks like I left my
I have a great radio voice? Oh man, thanks. Thanks a lot, dude.
My sense of self was regenerated over
I like my voice, but it's very nasally at the
Hello.
moment. I'm sick. Hello. Hello. Here we have Pipes and Sheng. That was a really fun race to watch. Partly because Sheng was so far ahead at one point where he went through Grun while you were doing stuff, and then he got out of Grun and you were in Grun. That was great. I love how you guys coordinated that.
Okay. Alright. A little bit of explanation for everyone. So first 10-20 minutes, like, I went out to dinner before I had a few drinks. I sobered up in like the first 10 minutes. I was like, okay, yeah, let's go. I'm good. My game starts to like drop inputs. And yeah, the rest is history. Like, I was just kind of dealing with that.
I'm sure it was dropped inputs, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, like, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Like, I don't know what was happening. It was just like, it was chugging.
Well, I didn't watch the stream. What happened?
Oh, it was just chugging. Like, I would do one thing, it would do another. Like, weird stuff.
Yeah. When you get low frame rate in this game, it tends to buffer your inputs really weirdly. Causes a lot of unexpected stuff to happen. But yeah, Sheng, basically Pipes had performance issues, both with himself and with the game.
It was you.
But, well, justified.
Yeah.
Justified issues. But yeah, Sheng, you played really well. There were a few things in there that I want to ask you about, but firstly, how do you feel that you played? Because that was a pretty fun watch.
Pretty satisfied. I didn't practice much the last few months.
Yeah, I haven't seen you around much, but you got a really good time, dude. 1:29.26 loadless. And that's just over a minute behind your PB. That is really good for a race. Especially because you had that stuff going on in Deep Factory, which was a little unfortunate, but...
Yeah, Factory, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's really tough. But if you didn't have that, you probably would have been super close to a PB, which is fantastic, dude. Great job.
Thanks.
Now, there was something in particular that I wanted to ask you about. So, right before Grun, you plunge into the water?
It was...
What?
I don't know if it's faster. I did it yesterday in a practice.
Classic, I don't know if it's faster. I just do it.
I just did it, yeah.
That was really... That took me off my feet, dude. I was like, what am I seeing here? Is this the next world record holder?
No, probably not.
Yeah, and there was something else you did too. I can't quite remember what it was, but it was another
Coppet City?
What did you do there?
I do a weird clip there. Dash 2 times backwards.
Yeah, you backdashed twice before doing Copied City clip.
Yeah, I had to start that after the last big Windows update. Copied City clip. It didn't work anymore. I had to find something different.
Bloody Windows.
How did you do it? How did you copy City?
I have a lineup and dash 2 times backwards and heavy hold through.
Oh god.
Yeah. So it's like that easy version of a box clip in the desert that people, where they backdash and then pod launch. That's really impressive, dude. So no one else does that? Because I haven't seen anyone do that ever.
My PB does it.
Oh. Well, time to study your PB.
Making up your own things, yeah.
I gotta go and try that, dude. If that's more consistent.
It works with level 3 also.
Oh, does it?
Oh, really?
That's beautiful.
Wow.
But every PC is different.
Yeah.
In this game.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go investigate that after we wrap up here. So anyway, that was a really good race, guys. It's unfortunate about the forfeit, but
really,
like it was really fun to watch, at least. Hopefully the performance issues didn't make it too crap to play.
Yep, me too. Thanks. No, like it was fun to play, but yeah, like shit happens, you know.
Actually, on the screen, they've just put winner next to your name because you have the lower time.
Yeah, there we go. The king,
the forfeit strats, dude. Rip.
Oh man, no,
I mean that's understandable. If you just come back and you're like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, just these sequence break strats.
Yeah, anemone is the end of the game.
have a poorly performing game. That's all you need. Yeah. No, but like, good job. wschseng?
Sheng. It's okay.
How do you say your name anyway?
wschseng.
wschseng. Okay, cool.
wschseng.
Okay. All right, that's it. No, good job. Yeah.
Thanks.
And everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. Thank you Speed Gaming for hosting this. This is the end of stage 1 of our tournament. As I said, we're going to be moving on to stage 2. Coming this Monday. Top 16 players going to be duking it out. Really close races coming up. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be amazing. So stay tuned for that. As I said, go to this URL I'm posting in the chat right now for the spreadsheet. We're going to have all the information in there if you want to keep up with it. It's going to be really fun to watch. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. And thank you guys for running, of course.
Yeah.
Alright, we'll see you all later. Have a good night. So stay tuned for that. As I said, go to this URL I'm posting in the chat right now for the spreadsheet.